A father barely holding on, pushing his body past the breaking point just to feed his daughter, falls face first onto the freezing concrete. Strangers pass by until one woman kneels beside him, whispering a prayer, wrapping him in her scarf. But she's no ordinary Good Samaritan. She secretly controls the very buses that keep his community alive. As whispers of corruption and sabotage swirl, his fight for survival turns into a fight for justice pitted against powerful men determined to erase his voice. Why would a man risk everything to protect a single bus stop? And what happens when the truth threatens to bring down an entire company? Before we get into the story, comment below where in the world you are watching from today. The sleet came sideways that Monday morning, needling through the gaps in Darius Cole's maintenance uniform like tiny accusations. 5:20 a.m. At Maple, 3rd, and the streetlight above the bus stop flickered its death rattle, throwing amber shadows across the empty bench. His knees locked to keep him upright. The mop bucket and cleaning cart sat abandoned back at Hartley Office Complex, signed out at 5:15 sharp after 6 hours of scrubbing other people's success off marble floors. Just make it through today. The prayer came automatic now, worn smooth as river stone. For Nora, his daughter would be waking soon, 17 years old, voice like honey poured over gospel truth, needing her father whole more than she'd ever say. The 5:35 would get him home in time to scramble eggs, see her off to school, then catch 40 minutes before the delivery shift started at 9:30. The shaking started in his fingers first. Darius flexed them against the cold, but the tremor ran deeper than weather. When had he eaten last? The vending machine snickers at 2 a.m. Coffee at midnight, black and bitter from the break-room pot nobody ever cleaned. The streetlight dimmed. Or maybe that was his vision. The bench seemed to tilt, the whole world sliding sideways like God had grabbed the corner of Maple Harbor and given it a shake. His knees buckled. Concrete rushed up to meet him, and his glasses cracked against the curb with a sound like breaking promises. "Oh, honey." The voice floated down through the sleet. Soft hands found his wrist, 2 fingers pressed sure against his pulse. Through the blur he made out white hair under a rain-spotted hood, a thrift store raincoat that had seen better decades. Just breathe. That's it. She moved like she'd done this before, one hand cradling his head, the other unwinding wool from her own neck. The scarf smelled like lavender and something older, safer. Church potlucks maybe. Sunday dinners when people still had them. Lord, steady this man's heart. Clear his vision. Strengthen his body for the work you've called him to. The prayer came quiet, meant for God's ears more than his. And if you could ease up on the sleet, that'd be nice too. No ambulance. The words scraped out of him. Can't afford. Hush now. My car's right there. She helped him stand, her grip stronger than her grandmother appearance suggested. The ride to Maple Harbor Community Clinic passed in fragments, windshield wipers, beating time. Her humming something that might have been "Wade in the water," the heater slowly thawing his frozen joints. The exam room clock showed 6 a.m. when the nurse finished checking him over. Dehydration, exhaustion, blood sugar in the basement. Nothing a drip and some rest wouldn't cure, she said, like rest was something you could pick up at the corner store. Your wife can take you home when she's not. Darius started. But the woman had already taken the clipboard. Eleanor W., she wrote in careful script on the responsible party line. From her purse came a card. He recognized the clinic's community fund for folks who fell through every crack the system had. That's not necessary. Sleep. She patted his hand. Doctor's orders. When he woke at 7:10, she was perched on the visitor's chair like she'd been keeping watch. The IV bag hung empty. His vision had cleared enough to see her properly, laugh lines earned honest, eyes the color of strong tea. Feeling better? I can pay you back. The words tumbled out. Soon as How many jobs? The question caught him sideways. 3. Overnight cleaning, that's 11 to 5. Deliveries during the week, 9:30 to 4:30. Weekend security, 6 to midnight. Her face did something complicated, sadness mixed with something fiercer. And your girl? Nora. She's 17, sings in the choir at Mount Olive Baptist. Pride crept into his voice despite everything. Smart as anything. College material, if I can just run yourself into the ground? She reached into her purse again, pulled out a small stack of cards, Whitcomb Transit passes, prepaid. A post-it note shaped like a bus stuck to the top, her number written neat across the windshield. Rest if you can. I'll pay you back for all of it. The clinic, the passes. But she was already at the door, that thrift store raincoat swishing. Take care of yourself, Darius. For Nora. Gone before he could ask her last name, the 7:25 bus smelled like wet wool and morning commuters. Darius held the cracked bridge of his glasses together with one finger, watching Maple Harbor wake up through fractured glass. The wool scarf sat folded in his lap, soft as grace. Their apartment door stuck like always, needed a shoulder to convince it. Inside, Nora stood at the counter assembling lunch sandwich, apple and those little carrots she liked. Still in her pajamas, hair wrapped in one of his old army t-shirts. Dad. She turned, and her face did that quick scan she'd learned too young, checking for damage. You're late. I was about to. She stopped. Your glasses. Just slipped. Ice on the sidewalk. Dad, I'm fine, baby girl. Come on, let me make you breakfast. He moved her gentle aside, cracked eggs into the skillet. 2 for her, 1 for him. Toast from the heel of the bread, last of the strawberry jam she loved. Her tea in the thermos, his coffee in the mug with the chip on the handle. You need to slow down. I need to see you graduate. See you sing your way to something better than this. This is fine. We're fine. You're going to be more than fine. She squeezed his shoulder on her way to get dressed. He set his phone alarm for 8:25, enough time for 20 minutes of sleep, maybe 30 if he was lucky. The bus passes sat on the counter like promises he wasn't sure he could afford to keep. The couch caught him like an old friend. He draped Eleanor's scarf over the arm, lavender and wool and kindness he hadn't earned. His eyes closed on a prayer that sounded like his daughter's name. The alarm dragged Darius up from dreams of wool scarves and falling. 8:30. His body protested every movement, joints stiff as rusted hinges, head pounding a steady rhythm against his skull. Cold water on his face helped some, the cracked glasses went into his pocket. He'd manage without them until payday. From Nora's door came the rustle of backpack zippers and last-minute homework shuffling. Bus in 10 minutes, baby girl. She emerged, braids neat, uniform pressed despite the broken iron they kept meaning to replace. Her phone chirped as she thumbed a message. Telling Mrs. Washington about rehearsal? Until 5:15. We're working on the Easter program. She studied his face. You sure you're? I'm good. He kissed her forehead, tasted the coconut oil she used on her edges. Go catch that bus. She grabbed her lunch from the counter, paused at the transit passes. What are these? Long story. Go on now. The door closed on her questions. Through the window, he watched her join the stream of kids heading for the 8:40 bus, her head high despite the weight of her backpack. When she was safely aboard, he wolfed down a banana that had seen better days and headed out. Lakeside Supply squatted beside the highway like a brick toad. 9:28 on the time clock when Darius punched in. 1 minute to spare. Look who stayed upright today. Brent Kessler leaned against the loading dock door, clipboard in hand, shark smile in place. 39 years old and already soft around the middle from supervisory privilege. His polo shirt had never seen honest sweat. Just following policy, right, Cole? Showing up vertical? Darius moved past him toward the day's manifest. 16 stops, usual route. The van keys hung on their designated hook. Nothing to say? Maybe that tumble knocked something loose. Got deliveries to make. That you do. Brent made a show of checking his watch. Clock's ticking. Wouldn't want you falling behind. Again. The boxes loaded themselves, muscle memory taking over while his mind wandered. 20 years in the army, and now this. But Nora needed school supplies, choir dress, a chance at something more than warehouse dust. Lunch came at 12:40, peanut butter on white bread, eaten standing by the loading dock. Manny rolled up with his own sandwich, the prosthetic leg he'd earned in Kandahar clicking against the concrete. "You hear about tonight?" "What's tonight?" "Community forum. 6:30 at the center. Whitcomb Transit's talking about adjustments." Manny made air quotes with his free hand. "You know what that means. Cuts. Maple and Third's on the list, where you catch your morning bus, right? The bread stuck in Darius's throat? That stop served 3 senior buildings, the Veterans Assistance Office, Mount Olive Baptist. Half the neighborhood depended on it. Might be worth showing up, strength in numbers and all that." Darius thought of Eleanor's post-it, the little bus with her number written across it. Maybe she'd be there. Maybe he could thank her properly, return the scarf that still smelled like lavender and kindness. "Yeah, maybe I will." The afternoon crawled. 3 delivery runs, auto parts to Mechanicsville, restaurant supplies downtown, medical equipment to the senior center. Each stop, he saw people waiting for buses that might not come next month. By 4:35, his lower back screamed and his vision swam at the edges, but the van was empty and the manifest complete. He clocked out under Brent's watchful eye, caught the 4:50 toward Maple Harbor High. The bus driver, a young woman with intricate braids, gave him a tired smile. "Long day?" "Getting there." "Tell me about it." Nora stood outside the school with 2 other choir girls, their voices harmonizing on something that might have been Kirk Franklin. She broke off when she saw him, said her goodbyes. "No security tonight?" "Called in sick." The lie came easy. He'd lose the weekend shift if Brent found out, but tonight felt important. "Hungry?" They found a deli still open, split a turkey sandwich and 2 apples on a bench outside the community center. 6:05. The evening had turned mild, spring trying to shoulder winter aside. "Dad, are you really okay?" "This morning? Just tired. You're always tired. Part of the program," he managed half a smile. "We're just listening tonight, all right? See what they're planning with the buses. Since when do you care about transit meetings?" "Since they started messing with our stop." She took his hand, squeezed it. Her fingers felt so small still, even at 17. How did time move so fast and so slow at once? The community center hummed with controlled anger. 6:25, and the folding chairs were filling fast. Seniors with walkers navigated the narrow aisles. Bus drivers still in uniform clustered near the back, comparing notes. Pastor Matthews from Mount Olive nodded as they passed. 3rd row had 2 seats together. As they settled, Darius noticed the woman in front of them, thrift store raincoat, silver hair pinned neat. Eleanor. She sat with her hands folded, looking toward the empty podium like she was praying over it. "Good evening, everyone." The moderator, a nervous man in a city planning polo, tapped the microphone. 6:30 exactly. "Let's call this meeting to order. We're here to discuss proposed adjustments to several Whitcomb transit routes." Eleanor's shoulders straightened. Darius found himself leaning forward, close enough to catch that lavender scent again. The room held its breath. Glen Park's PowerPoint gleamed with the kind of polish that made suffering look reasonable. Bar graphs in corporate blue, pie charts slicing neighborhoods into percentages. Each slide clicked forward with mechanical precision. "As you can see, ridership at certain stops has declined 12% year over year." His laser pointer circled Maple and 3rd like a vulture. "We must align service with demand." A murmur rippled through the crowd. Someone's cane tapped against linoleum once, twice, like a judge calling order. "Now, I'm pleased to say ownership is here tonight to hear your concerns directly." The moderator's smile stretched wide. "Though she prefers to blend in with regular riders, let me introduce." A hand rose from the 2nd row. Eleanor's hand. "Please welcome Eleanor Whitcomb, owner and chair of Whitcomb Transit. The room shifted. Folding chairs creaked as people turned. Darius felt his breath catch. Eleanor stood, smoothing her raincoat, the same raincoat from this morning. The same woman who'd knelt beside him in the sleet. "Thank you, but I'm here to listen first," her voice carried without straining. "You're the experts on these routes, not me." "That's her," Darius whispered to Nora. "The one from this morning." Nora's eyes widened. "The lady who helped you owns the whole—" "Yeah." Eleanor settled back into her chair as the moderator opened public comment. First up, Ora Mae Jenkins, 74, gripping her walker's handles. "That stop at Maple and 3rd? It's how I get to dialysis 3 times a week. How I get to church on Sunday. How I visit my sister at the senior center." Her voice trembled but didn't break. "You take that stop, you take my life." One by one, they testified. Veterans who caught the 6:15 to the VA hospital, mothers balancing babies and grocery bags. A teenage boy who rode 40 minutes each way to his job at the mall. Then, Jasmine Lee took the mic. 30-something, sharp-eyed, still in her driver's uniform. "I've driven the Maple route 6 years, know what I see? Humanity. Folks sharing thermoses of coffee when it's 10 below. Me kneeling that bus 20 times a day for wheelchairs and walkers. That stop isn't just concrete and a sign, it's community." The crowd stirred. Someone called out, "Tell it." Darius found himself standing before he'd decided to. The microphone felt heavy in his hand. "My name's Darius Cole. This morning I had a moment at that Maple and 3rd stop, blood sugar crash, and a stranger helped me." He looked directly at Eleanor, wrapped her scarf around me, got me to the clinic, made sure I was all right. Didn't know who she was then. Just knew she saw someone in trouble and acted. Eleanor's eyes met his, a small nod, almost invisible. "That's what happens at bus stops. We see each other. We help each other." "You can't put that on a spreadsheet." He sat down to scattered applause. Nora squeezed his arm. Glenn clicked to another slide. "We appreciate these stories, but data must drive our decisions. The working session Wednesday will—" "Mr. Park." Eleanor stood again. "Before any vote, I'll be visiting every affected stop over the next 48 hours. 4 a.m., noon, midnight, whenever people actually ride." She turned to the crowd. "My phone number will be posted at each stop. Call me. Show me. Help me understand what these routes mean to you." The moderator fumbled with his notes. "Well, yes. Meeting adjourned." 8:30. The lobby buzzed with conversations. Darius waited until the crowd around Eleanor thinned, then approached. "Ms. Whitcomb." "Eleanor." "Please." Up close, her eyes held a weariness that matched his own. "How are you feeling?" "Better. Look, I need to pay you back. The clinic, the passes, let's call it neighborly. That's not—" "Mr. Cole." "Darius." She pulled out her phone. "Let me confirm your number. In case you see something at these stops I should know about." He rattled off the digits. She smiled when they matched her post-it. "Rest when you can," she said. "Please. You sound like my daughter." Smart girl. Outside, the 8:45 bus waited, engine idling. Darius and Nora found seats near the back. "Dad, she owns the entire company?" "Apparently." "And she just happened to be at your stop at 5 in the morning?" "Said she rides the buses. Likes to listen to people." Nora shook her head. "That's either the wildest coincidence or what?" "I don't know. Pastor Matthews would call it something else." They rode in comfortable silence. By 9:10, they were home. Homework spread across the kitchen table, Nora's calculus, his bills that somehow never balanced. She hummed while she worked, something from Sunday's service. 9:50, his body screamed for sleep. 20 minutes, he told himself, setting the alarm for 10:35. The couch embraced him like an old friend. The alarm came too soon, always did. Nora had migrated to her room, geometry book still open on her desk. He tucked a blanket around her, kissed her forehead. 10:45. The walk to his cleaning job took 15 minutes. Empty streets, broken streetlights, the city showing its bones. 11 p.m., clock in, supply closet. The mop bucket filled with gray water that would be black by morning. 1:15 a.m., pushing the mop through silent hallways. Fluorescent lights hummed their monotonous tune. But something felt different tonight. Lighter, maybe. The woman who'd helped him could safeguard the buses. The woman who'd seen him at his lowest had the power to lift the whole neighborhood. He wrung out the mop, started on the next hallway. 5 more hours until dawn. Until that bus stop again. But now he knew who was listening. 5:10 Tuesday morning. Darius pushed through the office building's exit into air that bit through his jacket. His body wanted the ritual catch the 5:35, collapse at home by 6, sleep until the delivery shift. But Eleanor's words echoed, "Rest when you can." He trudged to Maple and 3rd. The streetlight flickered, casting shadows that danced across frost-covered concrete. Jasmine's bus hissed to a stop right on time. The doors folded open. "Morning, Mr. Cole." She held out a paper bag. "Special delivery." "What's this?" "From Ms. Whitcomb. Said you'd know what to do with it." The bag warmed his hands. Inside, a container of chicken soup and a note on Whitcomb Transit letterhead. "Community Fund can schedule a wellness consult today if you agree. Tell her thank you. Tell her yourself at tomorrow's session." Jasmine winked. "Now get on before you freeze." The bus was nearly empty. Just him, a janitor he recognized from the hospital, and a woman knitting in the back. He found a seat, cradled the soup against his chest. Home by 5:55. The apartment smelled like the lemon cleaner Nora used on Sundays. He set the soup in the fridge, started water for oatmeal. 6:30. He knocked on Nora's door. "Morning, baby girl." She emerged in her choir sweater, already brushing her hair. "You're home early." Decided to ride straight back. They sat at the kitchen table, oatmeal with sliced banana between them. Steam rose from their bowls. "Dad." Nora started, then stopped. "What is it?" "Yesterday, at the clinic. The doctor said you need rest, didn't they?" He stirred his oatmeal. "Maybe mentioned it." "Dad." "All right." "Yes. Said I should slow down some. Then do it, please. Take the morning off. Get the checkup." The words came harder than lifting boxes all day. "Okay." Her spoon clattered. "Really? Really? I'll text the clinic." She hugged him so tight his ribs ached. 8 a.m. Nora caught her bus, backpack heavy with textbooks and dreams. Darius sent the text, "Can I get 10:15 appointment? Community Fund referral." The reply came quick, "Confirmed. See you then." He set his alarm for 9:20 and crashed into bed. Real bed, not the couch. The pillow smelled like the lavender sachet Nora had made in middle school. The walk to the clinic took him past Maple and 3rd. Cold sunshine made everything sharp, clear. Something looked off about the bus stop. He stopped, studied it. The bench bolts gleamed silver, too new. The wind shelter's panel sat crooked, a gap where weather stripping should seal tight, like someone had taken it apart and reassembled it wrong. He pulled out his phone, snapped 3 pictures, just in case. The nurse practitioner was younger than him, maybe 40, with steady hands and serious eyes. "Blood pressure's high. Blood sugar's erratic. Your heart's working overtime to keep up. I'm managing. You're surviving. There's a difference." She handed him a pamphlet. "Fatigue management for shift workers. Drop 1 job. Minimum. Add a 15-minute walk daily. Hydrate like your life depends on it. Because it does. I can't just..." "Mr. Cole, your body's sending invoices. Keep ignoring them, and it'll send a collection agency. Heart attack, stroke, diabetes. Pick your poison." 11:40 at the warehouse. Brent stood by the time clock, arms crossed. "Medical appointment ran over," Darius said, "starting at noon. Next time, get pre-approval." "Policy. Emergency wellness visit. Everything's an emergency with some people." Brent's smile had teeth. "Clock in at noon." Not 11:59, not 12, 1, noon. The afternoon dragged, 2 delivery routes, stopping at every red light to drink water like the nurse ordered. His body felt like a machine running on fumes and determination. 5:20. Nora waited outside the school, choir folder tucked under her arm. How was the checkup? Educational, Dad. I'm following orders. See? He held up his water bottle. They stopped at Shepherd's Rest Baptist at 5:45. Pastor Lila was sorting donations in the basement, silver hair pinned back, movements efficient as prayer. Darius, Nora, perfect timing. She accepted their bag of coats. You know, accepting help isn't weakness, it's stewardship. Being a good keeper of what God's given you, including your own body. Yes, ma'am. She studied his face. You look tired. Working on it. Work less on working. Rest is holy too. 6:30, home. The chicken soup tasted like someone's grandmother had made it rich, salted with care. They watched a gospel concert on TV, Mahalia Jackson making the speakers tremble. His phone buzzed. Eleanor, listening session tomorrow evening, City Hall, 6:00 p.m. Hope to see you. He typed back, soup received. Thank you. I'm okay. Okay is relative. See you tomorrow. 9:30. Another alarm set, another nap that wouldn't be enough. Before sleep took him, he scrolled to the bus stop photos. Those new bolts bothered him. The crooked panel nagged like a song he couldn't quite remember. Something was happening at Maple and 3rd, something deliberate, but his eyes closed before he could parse it. 10:30 would come soon enough. The mop and bucket would be waiting. For now, though, rest. Even if just for an hour. Even if it felt like stealing time from tomorrow's bills. Wednesday morning, 5:05. The office building's glass doors locked behind Darius with their familiar click. His legs ached from 5 hours of mopping, but he turned toward Maple and 3rd instead of home. The street light showed empty concrete where the bench had stood for 20 years. Gone. Not moved, not replaced. Gone. The wind shelter's side panel, the one that blocked the worst of the lake wind, had vanished too. A laminated sign fluttered where Ora Mae Jenkins usually propped her walker. Temporary maintenance. Darius pulled out his phone. 3 photos, timestamps clear in the corner. The bolt holes in the concrete looked fresh, edges sharp. Jasmine's bus rumbled up at 5:35. Brakes sighing. Morning, Darius. You okay? The bench. When did they take it? She leaned out her window, squinting at the empty space. What? That was there yesterday afternoon. I remember Mrs. Chen sitting there with her groceries. Any maintenance orders come through? Nothing. And they always brief us about stop changes. Always. Her frown deepened. I'll check the depot logs when I get back. 6:30 at home. Nora stirred honey into her tea while Darius scrambled eggs. Dad, you look worried. They took the bench at Maple and 3rd. The shelter, too. What? Why? Don't know yet. He slid eggs onto her plate. Do me a favor. Take an extra scarf today for Mrs. Ora Mae, the blue one she knitted last week. She'll be cold waiting without that shelter. The one with the little bus pattern? That's it. Nora wrapped the scarf carefully in tissue paper. This is about those root cuts, isn't it? They're trying to make people stop using the stop. Smart girl. Too smart sometimes. Maybe. We'll see tonight at City Hall. 8 a.m. to 9. One precious hour of sleep that felt like drowning in exhaustion and surfacing too soon. The warehouse at noon. Brent stood by the loading dock, clipboard in hand, smile sharp as broken glass. Coal. Bay 7 needs reorganizing. Move those appliance pallets to the back. Refrigerators, washing machines, each pallet 300 pounds minimum. That's usually a 2-man job. Usually. But we need to assess individual performance. Policy review coming up. Brent tapped his clipboard. Unless you're not up to it? Darius grabbed the pallet jack. Lifted, pulled, stacked. His back screamed by the third load. By the 10th, his vision swam. But he finished. Every last pallet. 4:30 couldn't come fast enough. Turkey chili at home with Nora. She'd changed into her good blouse, the one she saved for concerts. You pressed that yourself? YouTube tutorial. She smoothed a wrinkle. We need to look respectable. Make them take us seriously. City Hall's chambers filled quick. Seniors with canes, mothers with strollers, drivers still in uniform. Darius and Nora found seats in row 4. 6:05. Glen Park's slide deck blazed across the wall screen. As you can see, ridership at Maple and 3rd has declined 40% over 6 weeks. Red arrows pointed down. Similar patterns at Lincoln and 5th, Riverside and 2nd, Cherry and 7th. All black neighborhoods. All senior buildings. Our night staff logs confirm minimal usage during peak morning hours. Darius's hand shot up. Sir, I've been at that stop every morning for 2 years. It's never empty. Especially not at 5:30 when the shift workers head out. Glen's smile stayed professional. I appreciate anecdotal observations, but we rely on documented data. I was there this morning. The bench is gone, the shelter too. Hard for people to wait when there's nowhere to sit and no protection from weather. Murmurs rippled through the room. Routine maintenance, Glen said smoothly. Safety concerns required immediate removal. Eleanor's voice carried from 2 rows back. What were the maintenance ticket numbers? Glen's smile flickered. I'll have those for you by morning. And the safety reports? Those would be filed with the city. Also forthcoming. The board chair, a thin man who looked like he'd rather be anywhere else, cleared his throat. Preliminary recommendations will be drafted tomorrow. Final vote Friday at 10 a.m. Eleanor stood. I request 24 hours to conduct on-site observations at the affected stops. Granted. 7:45. People filed out angry, confused, determined. Jasmine caught Darius by the door. No maintenance orders at the depot, nothing. And get this, those night logs Glen mentioned, they're signed by warehouse supervisors, not drivers. Warehouse supervisors? Yeah. Guess who oversees night warehouse ops for the contract companies? The pieces clicked. Brent. Bingo. Outside, streetlights made shadows long and dramatic. Nora tugged his sleeve. Dad, we need signatures. Tomorrow. Get every rider to sign that they use those stops. That's my girl. They caught the 8:15 bus home. Homework for Nora. Preparation for battle for him. 10:45. Back to the cleaning job. But at 1:00 a.m., alone in an empty break room, he pulled out a pencil and scrap paper. Photos, before and after seniors' testimonies. Aura May, Mrs. Chen, others bench timeline, term, when installed, when removed. Ask Eleanor about night logs. Check who signed them. Brent connection. The pencil lead snapped. He found another, kept writing. They were engineering empty bus stops, creating a problem to justify their solution. But why? What did Glen gain from cutting routes in black neighborhoods? The answer would have to wait. The vacuum wouldn't run itself. Thursday, 5:10 a.m. The office building's glass doors locked behind him for what might be the last time if this liaison role worked out. Darius walked straight to Maple. 5:2. 3rd, his breath visible in the March cold. 5:25. The stop looked naked without its shelter. Seniors clustered under drugstore umbrellas, their walkers gleaming wet from overnight sleet. Darius! Aura May's voice cut through the darkness. 74 years old and steady as steel. She pressed something soft into his hands, a sky-blue scarf, warm from her bag. Can't have you catching cold while you're fighting for us. He held it to the streetlight. In the corner, tiny stitched numbers. 3:14. Yesterday's date. You made this yesterday? Started it when I heard about the shelter. Fingers aren't as quick as they used to be, but they still work. The 5:35 pulled up. More seniors than Glen's charts claimed 15 at least. maybe 20. Mrs. Chen from the Lincoln Street Tower, Mr. Rodriguez with his oxygen tank. Veterans from the housing complex 2 blocks over. Let me help. Darius steadied Mrs. Chen's elbow as the bus kneeled. Jasmine lowered the ramp. Getting crowded out here without that shelter. Mind if I document this? For the transit board? Document away. His phone camera clicked. Timestamps clear. Faces visible with permission. The truth Glen Park didn't want seen. 7 a.m. Kitchen table. Nora buttered toast while he uploaded photos to his ancient laptop. That's 23 people, Dad. In 15 minutes. Low utilization, my foot. The corner print shop opened at 8. Cost him $12 he couldn't spare, but evidence needed to be tangible, physical, undeniable. By 9 he'd typed a single page, observed ridership at Maple 3rd, impact of shelter removal. Simple bullet points, photo evidence attached. Emailed to Eleanor's assistant with shaking fingers. 9:30, the warehouse parking lot. His badge still worked. Small mercy. Brent waited by the time clock, arms crossed. Need to leave early today. Noon, meeting about the transit situation. Handle your personal errands on your own time, Cole. It's community work. Trying to help seniors keep their bus route. Not my problem. You're here or you're not. 11:15. His phone buzzed against his hip. Eleanor's text. Can you meet at Depot 12:15? Bringing key stakeholders. He clocked out for unpaid lunch at noon. Brent's eyes tracked him to the door. The Whitcomb Transit Depot smelled like diesel and possibility. 12:20, small conference room. Eleanor, at the head of the table, no thrift store raincoat today, a simple blue suit that meant business. Jasmine to her left. 2 seniors he recognized from yesterday's meeting. Darius spread his photos across the table. This morning, 5:30 to 5:45, 23 riders. Yesterday, similar numbers. The night logs showing low usage. They're fiction. Eleanor studied each photo. Who signed those logs? Jasmine says warehouse supervisors. My day supervisor oversees night warehouse operations for several contract companies. Brent Kessler? The name hung in the air like an accusation. Eleanor leaned back. I have a proposal. A temporary community liaison position. 10 hours a week, 4 weeks, documenting real ridership patterns, collecting rider testimonies. Proper evidence for the board. I'm listening. The catch: you need to drop one of your 3 jobs. Your health matters. The community needs you functional, not collapsed at bus stops. Pastor Lila's words echoed. Stewardship of the body God gave you. I'll drop the weekend security job, give proper notice. But I can start the liaison role Monday. Eleanor extended her hand. Deal. I'll recommend freezing all route cuts until your report is complete. Her handshake felt like hope. 1:05. Back at the warehouse 20 minutes late from lunch. Brent stood by Darius's delivery van, envelope in hand. Perfect timing. The afternoon crawled. Deliveries to the medical complex, the senior center, 2 residential stops. 4:30 finally arrived. 4:45, Brent's office. Darius knocked, entered, professional despite everything. Need to give notice. Leaving my weekend security job to focus on family and community work. Hoping we can work out predictable hours here while Brent slid the envelope across the desk. Save your breath. Termination notice. Effective immediately. Attendance concerns Tuesday's clinic visit. Today's abandonment of post during lunch. I clocked out for lunch. It's on the timesheet. Doesn't matter. Pattern of unreliability. Manny appeared in the doorway, carrying a box Darius's things from his locker already packed. This isn't right, Manny whispered, handing it over. It's policy. Brent's smile could cut glass. Badge on the desk, now. 5:20, the high school parking lot. Nora emerged from choir practice, saw his face, knew immediately. The warehouse? Pink slip. They sat in the car, engine off, holding hands across the console. Father God. Nora started, voice steady. We trust you see all things, including the lies being told about good people. Amen. Simple words. Sufficient grace. 6 p.m. His phone lit up with Eleanor's name, texted quickly. Accepted liaison role. Got terminated at warehouse. Still observing dawn tomorrow. Still attending Friday vote. Her reply came in seconds. I'm so sorry. We'll get to the truth. See you 6 a.m. at Maple 3rd. 7 p.m. Grilled cheese sandwiches at their small kitchen table. The wool scarf Eleanor wrapped around his neck that first morning draped over the chair back. So let me get this straight, Nora said, taking a bite. The woman who helped you when you collapsed owns the whole bus company. And now you're going to fight together. For our stop. For everyone's stops. She reached across the table, squeezed his hand. Mom would be proud. The truth of it settled between them, solid as the table itself. 5:30 a.m. Friday. The cold bit through Darius's jacket. Eleanor stood beside him at Maple 3rd. Wool coat buttoned to her chin. Notebook in hand. There, he pointed. Ora May. Every morning. The elderly woman shuffled forward, no bench to rest on, leaning heavy on her walker. The sky-blue scarf she'd knitted fluttered in the wind. Eleanor stepped forward. Ma'am, can I help you? Just need to catch my breath, honey. Used to sit right here while I waited. How long have you been riding this route? 42 years. Since my husband passed. Eleanor wrote quickly, her breath visible in the dawn air. The bus arrived, kneeling with a mechanical sigh. Jasmine helped Ora May up the steps, then 3 more seniors, then a young mother with twins. Glenn's logs showed 2 riders maximum at this time. Eleanor's voice carried quiet fury. I count 11. More buses, more riders. Eleanor thanked each one, asked their names, how long they'd been riding. An hour of truth-gathering in the bitter cold. I'll recommend delaying any cuts at the board meeting, she said as the rush ended. This is unconscionable. 9 a.m. The depot conference room. Glenn's spreadsheets covered the table like accusations. Eleanor traced columns with her finger while Darius arranged his photos chronologically. Look, March 1st through 15th Glenn shows declining ridership. My photos from just 3 days show the opposite. The board respects data. Eleanor's jaw tightened. We need to make them respect people. 10:05. City Hall boardroom. 7 board members around a horseshoe table. Glenn at the podium, laser pointer painting red dots across projected graphs. The numbers are irrefutable. Maple 3rd averages 1.3 riders per stop during peak hours. Eleanor stood. I observed 23 riders this morning alone. Anecdotal. I have photos inadmissible without proper documentation protocols. Glenn's smile reminded Darius of Brent's. Same species of cruelty wrapped in policy. Board member Charlotte Wu raised her hand. Perhaps we should delay until Monday. Allow time for proper documentation. The vote, 4 for delay, 3 against. Monday morning, final decision. Glenn's face darkened. Eleanor touched Darius's shoulder, steady, reassuring. We have the weekend, she whispered. Noon. Official start time, community liaison role. The depot ID badge felt strange around his neck. Legitimate, valued. Jasmine grinned from the driver's seat of Route 6. Ready for the real education? He climbed aboard, notepad ready. First stop, Maple and 5th. Mrs. Chen headed to dialysis. Rode 3 times weekly for 4 years. Second stop, Veterans Plaza. 3 men from the VA housing complex. 1 missing a leg, prosthetic, giving him trouble. The kneeling bus feature meant everything. Used to drive tanks, the veteran said. Now I depend on Jasmine here to get me to appointments, Darius wrote fast, capturing exact quotes. Third stop, St. Mary's Commons. 8 seniors headed to the grocery store's Friday discount hours. What happens if this route gets cut? Darius asked. We don't eat, one woman said simply. Miles of stories. Names, faces, destinations, that meant survival. Jasmine knew them all. "This isn't just transportation," she said, pulling into Riverside Apartments. "It's the circulatory system of the city. Cut these routes, you're cutting off blood flow to whole neighborhoods." 4:30. Back at the depot. 17 pages of notes, 43 names willing to sign affidavits. 6:30 p.m. The Cole apartment smelled like Pastor Lila's beef stew. She'd arrived with a pot and a plan. "We need the community to show up tomorrow. Not just riders, everyone who understands what these buses mean." Nora sketched flyer designs at the kitchen table. Saturday Ridership Story Gathering. Maple, 3rd. 10 a.m. to noon. "Bring your stories," Pastor Lila added. "Bring your neighbors." They worked in rhythm, Nora designing pastor, calling church members, Darius listing key talking points. The stew warmed them from inside out. "Your mother used to organize like this," Pastor Lila told Darius. "Remember the summer lunch program? She got 3 churches and the mosque working together. She believed in showing up. You got that from her, both of you." She smiled at Nora. "That voice of yours tomorrow, it'll move mountains." 8 p.m., flyers printed at the church office. 50 copies, still warm. "I'll take the senior centers," Pastor Lila said. "Community center and library for me," Nora added. 9 p.m. Community center bulletin board. Darius pinned the bright yellow flyer dead center, stepping back to read it once more. Saturday, Ridership Story, Gathering Your Story, Matters Your Route, Matters You Matter. Maple, 3rd bus stopped in a.m. noon. Every rider has a story. Every story deserves to be heard. A janitor paused, read the flyer, nodded. "About time someone asked us what we need." The man pulled out his phone, took a picture. "Sending this to my whole building. We'll be there." Darius walked home under streetlights that flickered like hope. Tomorrow, they'd gather proof that couldn't be dismissed. Tomorrow, the community would speak with one voice. The flyers would paper the city by morning. 7 a.m. Saturday. Darius unfolded the metal table at Maple, RER, 3rd, its legs scraping against concrete where the bench used to stand. The morning carried promise: clear sky, warming sun, the kind of day that made waiting for a bus almost pleasant. He arranged thermoses in a row, coffee from Pastor Lila's church kitchen, hot chocolate from his own stove. Paper cups stacked like hope. First arrival, Ora Mae Jenkins, wrapped in 3 of her own scarves. Couldn't sleep thinking about this. She set down a cardboard box, brought extras. "Every scarf I've knitted for this stop. Look." She held up a powder blue one, pointing to tiny numbers stitched into the corner. "Started dating them 6 months ago. Proof I've been here when Glenn's charts say nobody was." The detail hit him. "You've been documenting without knowing you'd need to. Habit from teaching 40 years. Always keep records." By 8, a small crowd gathered. Veterans from the housing complex 2 blocks over. Mrs. Chen's dialysis friends. Parents with strollers who caught the early bus to weekend shifts. Darius handed out affidavit forms, helped steady hands that shook with age or cold. Each signature carried weight, not just ink but survival itself. 9 a.m. Nora arrived with 5 choir friends, their voices warming up in harmony. They positioned themselves by the empty bench space and began with "Lean on Me." The music transformed the gathering. What started as paperwork became testimony. 23 years I've caught this bus," said Mr. Washington, leaning on his walker. "Took it to work at the factory. Now takes me to cardiac rehab 3 times a week. Without this stop, I'm looking at 2 transfers and an hour extra each way. My heart can't take that." Darius wrote quickly, capturing exact words. "A young mother bounced a fussy baby. Daycare opens at 6:30. This bus gets me there by 6:20. The next closest stop adds 20 minutes. I'd lose my job." Story after story. The choir hummed between testimonies, their presence drawing more neighbors. 10:30. Jasmine pulled up in her bus, off duty but in uniform. "Brought my camera," Let's document this properly. She organized group photos, seniors with scarves raised, veterans saluting, mothers and children waving. Each shot showed crowds where Glenn claimed emptiness. Now boarding shots, Jasmine directed. Show them how many people need that kneeling function. The bus knelt. Mr. Washington's walker cleared easily. Mrs. Chen's oxygen tank had room. A wheelchair user rolled on without the usual struggle. This is assistive technology, the wheelchair user said. Not just transportation, it's medical equipment for some of us. Darius added that quote to his growing stack. 11:15. The table held 43 signed affidavits. Nora's choir shifted to Amazing Grace, their voices carrying across the intersection. Cars slowed. Pedestrians stopped. A man in paint-stained coveralls approached. What's happening? Fighting to save our bus stop, Darius explained. This stop? They can't cut this. My whole crew depends on it. He pulled out his phone. Hold on. Within minutes, 6 more construction workers arrived. All riders. All with stories. We catch the 5:40 to get to job sites, one explained. Nearest alternate stop means walking past the highway overpass. That's not safe in the dark. Noon. The sun peaked. Orame distributed scarves to anyone standing in shade. The choir took a water break, but neighbors kept arriving. Heard at church this was happening. My neighbor texted me. Janitor at the community center said to come. Each person signed. Each shared why this stop mattered. The stack grew thick. 2 p.m. A familiar figure in a simple cardigan approached from the parking lot. Eleanor moved through the crowd quietly, shaking hands, listening more than speaking. She paused at an elderly couple. How long have you been riding? 50 years next month. Met on this very route in '74. Eleanor's eyes misted. She moved to the veterans, mothers, workers. No speeches, just presence. At the table, she examined the affidavits, photographs, scarves with dates. This is powerful, she told Darius. Monday's board meeting they'll have to see. Will it be enough? Truth usually is. Sometimes it just needs help being heard. She accepted a cup of coffee, stood among the crowd like any other neighbor. When someone recognized her, started to defer, she waved them off. Today I'm just another person who believes in buses. 6 p.m. the coal kitchen. Grilled chicken and green beans, simple but filling. Nora pushed food around her plate. You were incredible today. That high note in Amazing Grace gave me chills. She managed to smile. Think it helped? I know it did. Your voice changes things, baby girl. She almost spoke then, almost mentioned the conservatory audition in 2 weeks, the scholarship that could change everything. But watching him organize affidavits, seeing the exhaustion he wouldn't admit, how could she add another weight? Just homework tonight, she said instead. Calculus test Monday. They worked side by side, him sorting testimonies, her solving equations, comfortable quiet between them. 9:30 p.m. Nora's room. She knelt beside her bed, hands clasped. God, please, let the board see what we showed today. Let them understand these aren't just routes, they're lifelines. And help Dad rest, real rest, not just 20-minute naps between shifts. He needs. She paused. He needs what Mom would have made sure he took. Time to breathe. Time to be. And God, if it's your will, help me find a way to tell him about the audition. Help me trust that my dreams won't break him. Amen. Through the thin wall, she heard her father's gentle snoring. Already asleep, affidavits still spread across his lap. She tiptoed over, moved the papers to the table, pulled the wool blanket to his chin. Tomorrow was Sunday. Church. Then preparation for Monday's fight. The bus stop would survive. It had to. They all depended on it. Sunday morning arrived crisp and bright. The Coles walked to church, their usual routine when weather permitted. Darius's steps were steadier than they'd been all week, though Nora noticed him pause twice to catch his breath. Just taking in the morning, he said. But she knew better. Pastor Lila's church sat modest and welcoming on Maple Avenue, its red doors open wide. The sanctuary, filled with familiar faces, neighbors, bus riders, folks who'd stood at yesterday's gathering. They settled into their usual pew, third row left. Ora May waved from across the aisle, her latest scarf mint green draped over the seat beside her. The sermon spoke of burdens shared, of communities that carried each other. Pastor Lila's voice rose and fell like music. When Moses' arms grew tired holding the staff, Aaron and Hur held them up. They didn't ask permission. They saw need and answered it. Her eyes found Darius. Some of you are holding your arms up alone. Let us be your Aaron and Hur. After the final hymn, Pastor Lila didn't dismiss them immediately. Church family, Mr. Darius Cole has been fighting for our bus stops. Tomorrow morning, the transit board votes who will stand with him. Hands rose throughout the sanctuary. The silver-lined circle, 12 seniors strong, stood as one. We'll be there, Ora May declared. With bells on, well, scarves anyway. Laughter rippled through the congregation. 9:30 sharp, someone called out. We'll pack that meeting room. Bring your knitting, another added. Show them we're prepared to wait as long as it takes. As people filed out, Nora lingered near the piano. Dad, I need to rehearse my solo for next Sunday. Mrs. Williams will drive me home. Take your time, baby girl. She waited until his footsteps faded before pulling out the sheet music. Not next Sunday's hymn, her conservatory audition piece. His eye is on the Sparrow, arranged for mezzo-soprano. Mrs. Williams, the choir director, settled at the piano. 2 weeks. You ready? The singing part, yes. Telling Dad? Nora shook her head. He'll be proud. He'll worry about money. About me leaving. She stopped. Let's just practice. Her voice filled the empty sanctuary. Each note carved space in the air, demanding attention, offering comfort. Mrs. Williams played softly, letting Nora's voice lead. That scholarship committee won't know what hit them, Mrs. Williams said after the last note faded. 2 o'clock. Darius met Jasmine at the Route 8 stop on Harrison Street. Sunday schedules meant longer waits, perfect for conversations. Record everything, Jasmine advised, pulling out her phone. People are more honest when they're cold and tired. They were. Been waiting 40 minutes, a hotel housekeeper said. Sunday cuts mean I'm either an hour early or 20 minutes late for my shift. A man with a cane leaned against the shelter's remaining wall. They took our bench last month, said it encouraged loitering. I'm 82, I'm not loitering, I'm resting. A mother bounced a bundled toddler. Urgent care closes at 5 on Sundays. If we miss this bus, we wait till tomorrow or pay for emergency room. Story after story. Jasmine filmed while Darius took notes. The sun tracked across the sky, marking time and shadows. 4:30. They'd collected 17 more testimonies. Jasmine drove Darius home. His feet were swelling despite the supportive shoes. You're pushing too hard, she said. Monday's the vote. And Tuesday? What happens Tuesday if you collapse again? He didn't answer. Couldn't really. Tuesday felt impossibly far away. 6 o'clock. The kitchen smelled of rosemary chicken and roasted vegetables. Nora had started dinner while he showered, moving around the kitchen with her mother's efficiency. They ate quietly at first, both lost in thought. Dad? Nora finally said. Remember what Pastor Lila said about Moses? About holding his arms up? About letting others help hold them? She pushed carrots around her plate. You're trying to be Moses, Aaron, and Hur all at once. Someone has to. No, someone doesn't. Lots of someones want to help. Ora May, Jasmine, Pastor Lila, Mrs. Whitcomb, even me. She looked up. Let someone else carry some of the weight for once. The words hung between them. He set down his fork. Your mother used to say the same thing. Because she was right. It's hard, baby girl. Asking for help feels like being human? She smiled gently. Like having people who care about you? He laughed then, really laughed. When did you get so wise? Learned from the best. Dessert was peach cobbler from Mrs. Chen next door, still warm. They savored each bite, temporarily forgetting tomorrow's wait. "These presentations materials," Darius said, spreading papers across the cleared table, "help me make sure I haven't missed anything." They reviewed each document, affidavits organized by neighborhood, photographs labeled with dates and times, Jasmine's video testimonies transcribed. "This one's powerful," Nora said, reading. "The bus isn't just how I get places, it's how I stay connected to life." Mr. Peterson lost his driver's license after his stroke. They worked until 9:30, arranging and rearranging, building an argument too solid to dismiss. "It's good, Dad. Really good. Pray it's enough." As Nora headed to bed, she paused at her door. "Mom would be proud. How you're fighting for everyone." Before he could respond, she'd closed the door softly behind her. Darius sat alone, with the evidence of community need spread before him. Tomorrow the board would vote. Tonight he'd rest. Actually rest. For once. Monday arrived wrapped in fog. 5:30 found Darius at Maple By, 3rd with a fresh notebook and Eleanor's borrowed digital camera. The mist made ghosts of approaching riders, materializing from gray into solid forms seeking warmth and transport. He counted methodically, 23 riders between 5:30 and 6, another 31 by 6:30. The 710 bus knelt for 3 wheelchairs and 5 walkers, rush hour at a supposedly underutilized stop. Getting the truth? Ora May appeared beside him, another sky-blue scarf in her weathered hands. Every last detail. She pressed the scarf into his hands. "Check the corner stitching. Tiny numbers in white thread. 115. January 15th. I date every scarf," she said. "Been documenting my mornings here since Christmas. Got 34 scarves with dates and times. Proof I was here when they said nobody was." Darius hugged her carefully, mindful of her brittle bones. "You're brilliant, just observant, and tired of being erased." 9 o'clock. The Whitcomb Transit Depot conference room looked like a war room. Eleanor and Darius spread evidence across the long table, affidavits sorted by date, photographs enlarged and labeled Ora May's scarves with their telltale timestamps. "This is damning," Eleanor said, studying a photo of seniors standing where the bench used to be. "When exactly were these removals?" Darius pulled up his phone calendar. "I noticed the loose bolts Tuesday. Bench was gone Wednesday morning. That's 6 days into Glenn's 8-week data window." Eleanor's jaw tightened. "He removed amenities to drive down ridership, then used that false data to justify cuts." "Can we prove intent?" "We can prove timeline. That might be enough." She gathered papers into a folder. "Ready? As I'll ever be?" They walked to the boardroom together. Eleanor's heels clicked confidence. Darius's worn dress shoes whispered determination. 10 o'clock. The boardroom filled with suits and skepticism. Glenn Park stood at the projector, his smile sharp as broken glass. "As you'll see from our 8-week analysis," Glenn began, clicking through slides, "ridership at 4 stops including Maple, 3rd has declined 40%. The data speaks for itself." Board members nodded, reviewing matching handouts. Darius noticed several had already made notes supporting the cuts. "Questions?" Glenn asked, too casually. Eleanor stood. "I have several, but first, I'd like our community liaison to present his findings." Glenn's smile flickered. "This isn't on the agenda, I'm adding it." Eleanor's tone left no room for argument. "Mr. Cole?" Darius rose, his folder heavy with truth. He placed the first photograph on the overhead projector. Maple Bayar, 3rd on January 10th, bench intact, 15 people waiting. This was taken before the data window. Next photo. January 16th, no bench, people standing against the wall. This was taken after what I'm calling the removals. Murmurs rippled through the room. Darius continued, methodical as morning roots, photo after photo, affidavit after affidavit. Then, Ora May's scarves, each tagged with dates proving consistent ridership. 73 signed testimonies, he concluded, all documenting regular use of these underutilized stops. The ridership didn't decline. The infrastructure was removed. A board member, Mrs. Harrison, according to her nameplate, leaned forward. "Mr. Park, when were these maintenance removals authorized?" Glenn's knuckles whitened against the podium. Safety concerns required immediate action. "That's not what I asked." Mrs. Harrison's voice could have frozen July. "When?" "January 15th through 17th. 6 days into your data collection period. Coincidental timing. Show me the maintenance orders." Eleanor interrupted. "The safety reports, the work orders, the board approval for infrastructure changes." Silence stretched like cold taffy. "I'll need time to gather those documents," Glenn managed. "You've had since Wednesday," Eleanor reminded him, "when I first requested them." The board chair, Mr. Douglas, cleared his throat. "I moved to table the root cuts, pending a full investigation." "Seconded," Mrs. Harrison said quickly. "All in favor?" Unanimous hands raised. "Furthermore," Mr. Douglas continued, "I move to formalize Mr. Cole's position as community liaison with a proper stipend for the next 6 months while we review all routes." Seconded. Another unanimous vote. Glenn's face had gone gray as morning fog. He shut his laptop with a snap that echoed like accusation. 6 o'clock. The Bluebird Diner hummed with Monday dinner rush. Darius and Nora squeezed into a corner booth, celebrating with the Monday special meatloaf, mashed potatoes, and the best pie in Maple Harbor. "Dad, you did it." Nora raised her milk glass in a toast. "We did it, the whole community. But you stood up there. You showed them." Pride shone in her eyes. "Mom would have loved seeing you like that." They ate slowly, savoring victory along with the gravy. Nora told him about her history test, her choir practice, the way even her teachers had heard about the morning meeting. "You're famous," she teased, "temporarily notorious." "There's a difference." They split a slice of chocolate cream pie, forks meeting in the middle like they always did, when the bell above the door chimed. Brent Kessler stood there, scanning the diner. His eyes found Darius. That familiar smirk spread across his face like an oil stain. He walked over, stopping just close enough to loom. "Heard about your little show this morning." Darius set down his fork carefully. "Brent, enjoy the victory lap." Brent leaned closer, voice dropping. "Won't last long. People like you always overreach, always forget their place. Sir, you need to order or leave." The waitress Donna, who'd served them for years, stood firm, coffee pot like a weapon. Brent straightened, that smirk never wavering. "Just being friendly." He left, bell jangling discordantly. Nora's hand found Darius's across the table. "Dad?" "It's okay, baby girl." But his appetite was gone. Outside the window, Brent's shadow passed under the streetlight, and Darius felt Monday's victory chill into Tuesday's uncertainty. Tuesday morning brought Eleanor's voice through the phone, bright as fresh paint. "We need something bigger than board meetings, Darius. Something the whole city can't ignore." Darius stood in his kitchen, watching steam rise from his coffee. "What did you have in mind?" "Ride to Rise Day, this Saturday. Free fares all day, music at every major stop, testimonies from riders." Her excitement carried through the line. "Show them what we're really fighting for." By noon, the depot's break room had transformed into mission control. Jasmine spread route maps across 3 tables, while Ora May's silver-lined circle claimed the corner, fingers flying through wool and plans. "My cousin owns a sound system," Jasmine said, marking stops with red stars. "He'll set up at Maple 3rd for free." Pastor Lila nodded from her seat. "I'll have the church van shuttle seniors who can't walk to stops." "What about music?" Eleanor asked. "The high school choir," Darius suggested, then caught himself. "If they're available. Dad volunteers us." Nora appeared in the doorway, backpack still on, grinning. "Ms. Rodriguez already said yes." We've been practicing spirituals all semester." The week blurred into preparation. Wednesday, Darius and Jasmine visited every stop on Route 6, recruiting riders to share stories. Thursday, Aura May's circle produced 50 more scarves, freedom blue, she called the color. Friday, Pastor Lila gathered ministers from 6 congregations. Saturday dawned cloudless and cold. By 8:30, downtown Maple Harbor looked transformed. Kids drew hopscotch squares and rainbow buses on sidewalks. Blue scarves fluttered from every bench, pole, and tree branch like prayer flags. At Maple, TRA 3rd, the crowd started gathering before 9. Veterans in garrison caps, mothers with strollers, teenagers who usually hid behind headphones stood ready with handmade signs, "Our buses, our community." The sound system crackled to life. Jasmine grabbed the microphone. "Maple Harbor, are you ready to rise?" The crowd roared. Stories poured forth. Mr. Chen described riding to dialysis 3 times a week. Maria testified about reaching her factory job at 4 in the morning. Young Marcus explained how the bus got him to community college when his car died freshman year. Then the choir assembled. 30 teenagers in matching blue scarves, voices warming up in harmonies that made morning itself pause. Nora stepped forward for the solo. Amazing Grace. How sweet the sound. Her voice rose clear and strong, carrying across the intersection, stopping traffic both literal and metaphorical. The crowd swayed. Aura May wiped her eyes. Eleanor stood transfixed, one hand pressed to her heart. Was blind, but now I see. The last note hung in winter air like crystallized hope. Then cameras appeared. Channel 6 News. The Maple Harbor Gazette. Someone live streaming on their phone called out, 20,000 viewers and climbing, stop after stop. The celebration grew. The gospel choir from First Baptist performed at Clinton Avenue. The mariachi band from St. Catherine's filled Riverside Station with trumpets and joy. Kids gave handmade thank you cards to drivers who displayed them on dashboards like medals. By evening, the community center overflowed. Eleanor took the stage, but she wasn't alone. Darius stood to her left, Jasmine to her right, Aura May and Pastor Lila behind them. Today, Maple Harbor, you showed what public transit really means, Eleanor began. It's not about numbers on spreadsheets. It's about neighbors reaching neighbors. The crowd quieted, leaning in. So, here are my commitments. First, Maple, all PR. Third, and all contested stops will be preserved and upgraded with new shelters by spring. Cheers erupted. Second, effective Monday, we're launching a senior and veteran fare cap. No one over 65 or who served our country will pay more than $20 monthly, regardless of rides. More cheers, and several veterans saluted. Third, we're piloting a rest and recovery program for our workers. Paid wellness days, predictable schedules, because exhausted drivers and exhausted riders both deserve better. She turned to Darius. Mr. Cole showed me what I'd forgotten, that compassion without action is just sentiment. His position as community liaison is now permanent, with full benefits. Darius felt his knees nearly buckle, not from exhaustion this time, but relief. The celebration continued past sunset. Cleanup would take hours, but nobody minded. Community had been reclaimed one stop at a time. 9 o'clock. Their apartment glowed with leftover joy and the last slice of celebration cake from the church ladies. "Dad?" Nora fidgeted with her fork. "I need to tell you something." "What is it, baby girl?" "I have an audition for the conservatory. It's in 2 weeks." Darius set down his milk. "That's wonderful. There's an application fee. And if I get in, the scholarship might not cover everything, and travel for the audition, and Nora." He reached across their small table, taking her hands. "If it's your dream, we'll find a way. But you just got stable. I don't want to. Your mom sang at that conservatory once. Did I ever tell you? A special concert her senior year of high school. She said standing on that stage made her feel like her voice could reach heaven." Nora's eyes filled. "We'll find a way," he repeated. They held hands across the table, hope no longer something to chase but something settled between them, solid as morning roots, sure as sunrise. Sunday evening painted their apartment golden with leftover hope. 7 o'clock news played highlights from yesterday's celebration while Darius reviewed his community liaison paperwork. The deposit stub didn't match his bank balance. "That's odd," he rechecked. The numbers. His stipend from Whitcomb, 2 weeks' worth, hadn't arrived. He texted Eleanor. She replied within minutes. "We'll investigate first thing Monday, don't worry." But worry had already taken root. Monday noon. The warehouse parking lot where he'd once loaded trucks now felt foreign. Darius had come to collect his final personal items from the break room. Brent materialized between 2 vans. Should have stayed quiet. His breath fogged the cold air. "People like you always overreach. People like me, you know exactly what I mean." Brent's smile twisted. "Enjoy your little victory, while it lasts." He disappeared before Darius could respond. That evening, Eleanor forwarded an email from Glenn with visible frustration. "Community optics are costly. Recommend immediate board reconsideration of all initiatives pending full financial review." The ground beneath their victory began to shift. Nora stared at the cream envelope marked Whitcomb Foundation. Her hands trembled as she read. "Finalist. Full scholarship possible. Panel interview next Saturday." The judge's name stopped her cold. Glenn Park, committee chair. She stuffed the letter under her mattress. If Dad knew, he'd tell her to be honest, to trust the process. But what if Glenn used her application against him? What if her dreams became ammunition? She couldn't risk it. Tuesday brought Jasmine to their door at 6. Face grave. "You need to see this." The phone screen showed grainy break-room footage. Darius confronting Brent about falsified logs, his finger pointing, voice raised. But the audio was cut, context stripped. It looked like unprovoked aggression. "Someone leaked it to the board," Jasmine said. "Glenn's calling it concerning behavior from community representatives." Darius sank into his chair. That conversation Brent had just admitted to changing the logs, but without audio. "I know. We all know." But Glenn's spinning it hard. Thursday arrived with systematic dismantling. Glenn announced all new programs would undergo financial review. The fare cap? Paused. Route preservation? Under reconsideration. Irregularities in community liaison reporting, the memo read. Eleanor called Darius directly. "This is retaliation, pure and simple, but I need you to stay steady. Your CDL exam is tomorrow. Focus on that." "How can I focus when—" "Because that license is your stability, regardless of what Glenn does. Trust me. Please." Friday morning sparkled with frost. The CDL testing center smelled of burnt coffee and diesel, parallel parking, 3-point turn, pre-trip inspection. Each skill Jasmine had drilled into him flowed naturally. The examiner, a taciturn woman named Dolores, made notes without expression. "Congratulations, Mr. Cole. You passed." The license felt heavier than paper should. A career, benefits, one good job instead of 3 bad ones. Eleanor waited outside with a wrapped box. "My husband's first fair puncher," she said, revealing the worn brass tool. From 1978, his rookie year. He'd want someone who understands service to have it. The weight of legacy filled his palm. 7 o'clock. The depot conference room erupted. Motion passes. The board chair's gavel fell. Maple, 3rd preserved. Fare cap restored. Financial review finds no irregularities in liaison program. Drivers hugged. Seniors wept. Nora launched herself into Darius's arms. "You did it, Dad." "We did it." Eleanor smiled from across the room, exhausted but victorious. Even Glenn's scowl couldn't dampen the celebration. They floated home on joy and pizza, Nora humming her audition piece, Darius finally allowing himself to imagine tomorrow regular hours, health insurance, time to breathe. The knock came at 11:30. Two officers, apologetic but firm. "Mr. Cole, we need you to come to the depot." The night office blazed with harsh fluorescence. Glenn stood beside Darius's open locker, holding a Whitcomb Transit deposit bag. "Missing since this afternoon," Glenn announced. "Found during routine security sweep." "That's not, I haven't been in that locker since Monday." "Sir, we need to ask you some questions," the officer interrupted. The next hour blurred. Questions about access, about opportunity, about the video showing his aggressive tendencies. Suspension without pay, pending investigation. Badge confiscated. Fare puncher returned to Eleanor's office. "This is a setup," Darius insisted. Glenn's smile barely moved. "That's what they all say." Midnight slouched toward morning. Darius walked home through empty streets, each step heavier than 3 jobs had ever made them. The apartment door creaked. Nora sat on the couch, still in her school clothes, face streaked with tears. "Dad?" He collapsed beside her, head dropping into his hands. The wool scarf from that first morning, was it really just 2 weeks ago? Lay folded on the coffee table like a relic from someone else's life. "They're saying I stole money, but you didn't. Doesn't matter what I did, only what they can. Make people believe." She curled against his shoulder. Outside, a bus rumbled past Maple Third, its headlights sweeping their window like searchlights hunting for truth in all the wrong places. The hero sat framed in darkness, victory turned to ash, waiting for dawn that felt impossibly far away. Saturday arrived without mercy. 7 o'clock found Darius at the kitchen table, suspension letter spread before him like a verdict. His fingers traced the typed words, "Pending investigation into theft of company property. 3 jobs, then 1 good one, now none." "Dad?" Nora emerged from her room, already dressed despite the weekend. "Did you sleep at all?" "Some." The lie hung between them. She'd heard him pacing at 2, 3, 4 in the morning. The floorboards in their apartment kept no secrets. She poured cereal, added milk, pushed the bowl toward him. "Eat something. Maybe we should talk to a lawyer, see if I plead to a lesser." "Dad, no." The spoon clattered against ceramic. "You didn't do anything wrong." "Doesn't matter. Glenn has the video, the planted evidence. If I drag this out, legal fees will bury us." "Your college—" "Stop." Her voice cracked. "Just stop." The knock at 10 was soft but insistent. Pastor Lila stood in their doorway, carrying a covered dish and her Bible. "Breakfast casserole," she announced, moving past them into the kitchen. "And perspective." She warmed the dish while Darius explained the trap closing around him. The video, the deposit bag. His need to end this quickly before it destroyed Nora's future. Pastor Lila listened, served the casserole, then sat across from him. "You know what I learned in 63 years?" She didn't wait for an answer. "Truth does not need to be rushed, only revealed. But the evidence is a lie wearing truth's clothing. Real truth has a way of surfacing, always does. Question is whether you'll be standing when it does." She led them in prayer, hands clasped over the suspension letter, before leaving with a promise to mobilize the prayer chain. An hour later, Jasmine's knock rattled the doorframe. "Brought reinforcements," she announced. Ora May shuffled in, arms full of scarves. Behind her, 2 more Silver Line Circle members carried additional bundles. "What's all this?" Darius asked. "Evidence." Ora May spread scarves across the couch, each one sky blue, edges decorated with tiny stitched numbers. "Every scarf I knit carries the date I finished it. See?" Her weathered finger pointed to the corner of one scarf, 228 in thread so fine Darius had to squint. "February 28th. Finished this one at Maple, EOC 3rd, 5:45 in the morning. Bus was late that day. Jasmine had a flat tire on Route 6. I remember," Jasmine confirmed. "Had to call dispatch for a replacement bus." Ora May pulled out a notebook, pages filled with her careful handwriting. "I keep records. Every scarf, Where I knitted it. When I finished it. Look here, March 3rd, March 7th, March 10th, all completed at Maple, AT 3rd. During the exact dates, Glenn claims the stop was empty. Hope flickered in Darius's chest. There's more, Jasmine said. Remember Carl Washington? Drove nights for 30 years before retiring? Darius nodded. Carl had trained half the current drivers. He called me this morning, said he heard about your situation. Turns out, when they upgraded the depot security system last year, nobody asked for the old hard drives back. Carl being Carl, he kept them. Never know when you might need backup, he always said. Brent said he cleaned out all the old footage, Darius said slowly. Brent says a lot of things. Jasmine's smile held edges. Carl's willing to check those drives. See what they show about who really took that deposit bag. Ora May gathered her scarves with practiced efficiency. We meet Carl tomorrow, 2 p.m., his house on Elm Street. Bring your documentation, everything you have. After they left, the apartment felt both emptier and fuller. Evidence existed. People cared. Truth might actually surface. Saturday evening painted long shadows across their small kitchen. Darius made spaghetti, Nora's favorite since she was 7. She set the table, moved her school notebooks to clear space. The scholarship letter slipped free, just a corner visible. Her hand shot out, shoving it back under the pile. What was that? Darius asked, not really looking, focused on draining pasta. Nothing, just homework. They ate quietly, the scratch of forks on plates filling silence. Nora wanted to tell him. The words formed and dissolved. Dad, I made finalist. Dad, there's a scholarship. Dad, Glenn's on the committee. Instead, want to watch that gospel concert recording after dinner? Sure, baby. They settled on the couch, her head on his shoulder, watching the Bethel choir sing about mountains moving and chains breaking. Her scholarship letter burned beneath the notebook 10 feet away, a secret heavier than any deposit bag. Dad? Tomorrow, when we meet Carl, what if the drives don't show anything? He pulled her closer. Then we keep looking. Truth doesn't always arrive on our schedule. Pastor Lila's words? Pastor Lila's wisdom. The concert continued, voices rising in harmony about morning coming after the longest night. Nora hummed along, her voice a whisper of its full power, while her father stared at the ceiling, counting the water stains like stars in a sky that had forgotten how to shine. The letter stayed hidden. The truth stayed patient. Saturday surrendered to coming dawn. Sunday afternoon carried spring warmth that felt borrowed from a kinder season. Hank Miller's garage on Elm Street stood open, tools organized on pegboard walls like a museum of honest work. Come on in. Hank, 71, and built like he'd never stopped lifting, led them past a workbench cluttered with bus route maps from 3 decades. Got something you need to see. The laptop looked ancient, held together with electrical tape. Beside it, a stack of hard drives labeled with dates in Sharpie. March 2023, Hank read, selecting one, right when they upgraded the depot security. Nobody asked for these back. 30 years driving taught me, always keep receipts. The drive clicked and whirred. Grainy footage filled the screen. The depot break room, timestamp reading March 15, 11:47 p.m. That's 3 nights ago. Jasmine leaned closer. On screen, Brent entered frame, looked around, then reached into the deposit lockbox with a key that shouldn't exist. The bag disappeared into his jacket. He walked out, returned 5 minutes later, went straight to the lockers. Number 47 Darius's, Lord have mercy, Ora May whispered. The timestamp jumped, March 16/6, 23 a.m. Brent again, discovering the bag, making a show of shock for the morning crew. There's more. Hank clicked another file. February 28, 2:15 a.m. A Whitcomb maintenance truck backed up to Maple, 3rd. 2-men night crew unloaded power tools. The bench that had sheltered seniors for 15 years disappeared in 8 minutes. They loaded it like thieves stealing comfort itself. Same thing here. Another file. March 3rd, another stop. Another bench vanishing into darkness. Darius's hands shook as he inserted his flash drive. Can we copy these? Already did. Hank produced 2 additional drives. One for you, one for the lawyer you're gonna need, one for the news if it comes to that. Why? Jasmine asked. Why would you stick your neck out? Hank's weathered face creased. Drove Route 6 for 29 years. Watched kids grow up riding my bus. Watched their kids do the same. Darius here. He nodded. His wife Denise used to ride to her nursing shifts, always said thank you, always asked about my grandkids. When she got sick, I'd kneel the bus extra gentle, wait while Darius helped her up the steps. Silence settled like dust in afternoon light. Some things matter more than staying quiet. Mount Olive Baptist Church filled by 5:45 p.m. Not just regular members riders from every route. Silver Line circle in force, drivers off shift. The sanctuary hummed with shared purpose. Pastor Lila stood before them, voice carrying without a microphone. Tomorrow we ride, not in protest but in witness. We board those buses together, arrive at City Hall together, speak truth together. Amen, rumbled through the pews. Darius, come forward. He walked the aisle, evidence drives in his pocket, weighing like stones of truth. This man has carried our community's weight until it broke him. Tomorrow we carry him. Hands reached out, weathered, young, black, white, brown touching his shoulders, his arms, surrounding him with grace made flesh. Nora, Pastor Lila called, lead us. His daughter rose, moved to the front, no accompaniment needed. Her voice began soft, barely above whisper. We shall overcome. The congregation joined, harmonies building, until the windows seemed to tremble with collective strength. Deep in my heart, I do believe. Darius watched his baby girl lead 200 voices, her gift flowing like water to thirsty ground. She caught his eye, smiled that smile that carried Denise's spirit, and something loosened in his chest. After service, congregants filed past, pressing his hand, promising their presence tomorrow. Ora May distributed scarves. Wear them visible. Let them see we were always here. The church emptied slowly. Nora helped stack hymn books, movements careful, like she carried something fragile. Baby, you okay? She pulled a folded letter from her pocket, hands trembling slightly. I should have told you sooner, he read. Whitcomb Foundation Scholarship finalist. Full conservatory tuition possible. Final audition in 5 days. Selection committee included Glenn Park. Oh, Nora, I didn't want to add more weight, and now with Glenn they'll never pick me. Not with you fighting them. He pulled her close, felt her tears dampen his shirt. Listen to me. You earned this. Your voice, your grades, your heart, that's all you. Nobody can take that. But we got truth on our side now, video proof. Glenn's about to have bigger problems than blocking your scholarship. He tilted her chin up. You're going to that audition. You're going to sing like your mama's watching. And they're going to see what everyone in this church already knows, you're extraordinary. What if it doesn't work? Then we find another way. But hiding your light? That's not the answer. Never is. Home by 8:30 p.m., they spread evidence across the kitchen table. Printed screenshots, timestamps highlighted, Ora May's scarf dates cross-referenced with empty stop claims. Nora made coffee strong, the way her father taught her. They worked in companionable silence, building truth into undeniable form. Dad? What Pastor Lila said about truth being revealed? Yeah? Think Mom would be proud of us fighting? Darius stopped sorting papers, looked at his daughter 17, motherless, brilliant. Your mother stood up to a hospital board when they tried to cut nurse staffing. Came home that night, said sometimes right needs a voice, even if that voice shakes. So yeah, baby, she'd be proud. They worked until midnight, evidence organized, copied, ready. Tomorrow would bring confrontation, possibly redemption. The flash drives sat on the table like bullets of truth, waiting to find their target. Monday morning arrived with unseasonable warmth, sunlight breaking through clouds like heaven checking in. Church parking lot transformed into staging ground by 7:45 a.m. Walkers clicking against asphalt, veterans adjusting service caps, mothers bouncing babies on hips. 3 Whitcomb buses idled, drivers volunteering their off hours. Jasmine stood by the first door, helping elders up the steps. "Today we ride together," she called out. "Nobody left behind." Signs emerged from tote bags, "Our stops, our lives." Seniors deserve dignity. Buses build community. Hand-lettered on cardboard, grocery bags, the back of prescription pads. Darius boarded with Nora at 8:05 a.m., finding seats midway back. Ora May settled across the aisle, scarves draped over her arm like battle flags. "Knitted 47 of these this winter," she said. "Each one marks a morning I waited for the 5:35. Glen Park can explain to my face how I wasn't there." The buses pulled out in formation, a convoy of determination. Riders began humming old spirituals rising through open windows. Route 6 to Maple, Maple to 3rd, 3rd to downtown. Regular passengers at stops stood slack-jawed as buses passed already full, blue scarves fluttering from windows. "Never seen anything like it," a construction worker said to his crew. "That's the point," his foreman replied. Transit Authority headquarters squatted like a concrete toad at 9th and Main. By 9:25 a.m., 3 buses emptied their human cargo onto sidewalks. Security guards stepped back, overwhelmed. "Board meetings 4th floor," Jasmine announced. "Elevators hold 8, stairs for those able." They moved like water, finding its way, slow, steady, inevitable. Darius helped a Korean War veteran navigate his walker through the lobby. Nora guided Ora May's friend Thelma, blind since diabetes took her sight. 4th floor, 9:35 a.m. Board members already assembled, Glen Park at the podium, sleek as a blade. "The meeting is not public. It is now." Pastor Lila's voice cut clean. "Ohio Sunshine Laws. Transit receives public funds. We have a right to witness." Glen's jaw worked. Board members shifted, calculating optics of ejecting 80 seniors, veterans, and working mothers. 5 minutes for comment. No more. "We'll take what we need," Pastor Lila replied. The room filled, bodies lining walls, crowding doorways. Glen returned to his agenda, voice pitched for authority. First item, leadership transition, given recent health events and questions about judgment. He clicked a remote. Eleanor's hospital admission forms projected on screen. "I move we temporarily suspend Eleanor Whitcomb pending full medical evaluation." Whispers rose like steam. Darius stood, but Jasmine caught his arm. "Wait for it." The boardroom door opened at 9:50 a.m. Eleanor entered, moving carefully with a carved wooden cane. Not the medical aluminum kind, this was mahogany, dignified, deliberate. 2 aides flanked her, but she didn't lean on them. "Good morning." Gasps rippled through the room. Glen's face went pale, then flushed. "Eleanor, we weren't expecting I am present." She moved toward her seat at the table's head. "And I will hear this. Your health is my business. The company's health is our collective business. Shall we proceed?" Board members avoided Glen's eyes. Eleanor settled into her chair, hands folded over the cane's handle. "I believe the community requested time." Pastor Lila stepped forward at 10:05 a.m. "We ask 5 minutes per speaker. These are the people your cuts would abandon." "That's not protocol, neither is removing benches to deflate ridership numbers." Eleanor's voice stayed level. "Please proceed, Pastor." A line formed. First, Marcus Williams, Gulf War veteran, 3 prosthetic fingers on his left hand. "Route 6 gets me to the VA. Without it, I don't get my medications. Simple as that." Then Sylvia Rodriguez, wheeling her oxygen tank. "My granddaughter works 2 jobs since her husband left. I watch the babies. Bus gets me there by 6 a.m. so she can make first shift. Story after story, not abstractions or data points. Faces, names, needs. Ora May came forward at 10:20 a.m., scarves cascading from her arms. 47 scarves, each one dated. She held them high, blue wool catching fluorescent light. March 2nd, March 5th, March 9th. Every morning you claim maple. 3rd was empty. But I was there, knitting these. Cold fingers, but I was there. She walked the board table, placing scarves before each member. You can erase computer logs, can't erase these stitches. The room held its breath. Then Nora rose, moved to the front without invitation or introduction. She stood where everyone could see 17, composed, carrying something larger than herself. No accompaniment, no microphone. Just voice, pure and clear, amazing grace, how sweet the sound. Board members froze. Glenn's hand stopped halfway to his water glass. That saved a wretch like me. Her voice filled corners, found hearts. Several seniors joined in, harmonizing, I once was lost, but now am found. Even security guards stood straighter, something shifting in the room's molecular structure. Was blind, but now I see. Silence after. Sacred kind, where truth settles into bones. Darius stepped forward at 10:25 a.m., flash drive in hand. This contains security footage from March 1st through 15th. Depot cameras Brent Kessler thought he erased. He inserted the drive into the room's computer. The screen flickered. Grainy but undeniable. Brent pocketing the deposit bag. Timestamp 11:47 p.m. Thursday. Next clip, Brent opening Darius's locker, planting the bag. 11:52 p.m. The room erupted, chairs scraping, voices overlapping. There's more. Final footage. Maintenance crew, unscrewing maple. Third's bench, loading it into a Whitcomb truck. Email thread overlaid. Glenn Park to maintenance chief. Proceed with de-benching strategy as discussed. Priority. Stops listed in attachment. Glenn stood, mouth opening and closing like a beached fish. Eleanor's cane tapped once against the floor. I believe we need an immediate recess. And someone should call security. The real kind. Security arrived at 10:35 a.m., not Glenn's private contractors, but Maple Harbor Police. Brent, summoned from the warehouse floor, entered flanked by 2 officers. His swagger evaporated when he saw the footage frozen on screen, his hand deep in the deposit bag. That's doctored. That's time-stamped from depot servers. The lead officer checked his notes. Mr. Kessler, you'll need to come with us. As they let him out, Brent's eyes found Darius. Pure venom there, then something else, fear, maybe. The door clicked shut. Glenn stood isolated at the podium, board members leaning away like he carried contagion. I move for Glenn Park's immediate resignation. Board member Patricia Hayes, usually Glenn's ally, didn't look at him. All in favor? 11 hands rose. Glenn's included, whether from habit or defeat, unclear. Motion carries. Eleanor's voice stayed steady. Mr. Park, we'll need your credentials and company devices by noon. Glenn gathered his papers, hands trembling slightly. At the door he turned. The numbers were real. The inefficiencies were people getting to chemotherapy. Eleanor didn't raise her voice. Getting to work. Getting home. You forgot the last word, in public transit. He left. The room exhaled collectively. Eleanor stood, weight on her cane but spine straight. I moved to immediately restore all removed stops and infrastructure. Full bench and shelter replacement within 7 days. Second. Patricia Hayes again, eager for redemption. All in favor? Unanimous. I further moved to establish a community oversight council, riders, drivers, and neighborhood representatives with real authority over route changes. Eleanor nodded toward Ora May and Darius. Mrs. Jenkins, Mr. Cole, Would you consider serving as founding members? Ora May clutched her remaining scarves. Been serving this community 74 years, not stopping now. Darius felt Nora's hand squeeze his shoulder. It would be an honor. Motion to establish the council with Jenkins and Cole as founding members. Unanimous again. The room shifted, atmosphere lightening like storm clouds breaking. The senior and veteran fare cap, 50% reduction for those over 65 or with military ID, begins Monday. Eleanor smiled at Marcus Williams. The Rest and Recovery Program launches immediately, mandatory actual breaks for drivers. Overtime protection for all staff. Jasmine whooped from the back. Other drivers joined her, applauding. Mr. Cole. Eleanor beckoned him forward. Your suspension is hereby reversed with full back pay, but I have a different proposition. She pulled a folder from her bag, hands steady despite the morning's wait. Director of Community Care, full-time, benefits, pension. You'd oversee our community liaison program, coordinate with the council, ensure our routes serve people, not spreadsheets. Darius's throat tightened. One job, stable hours, health care. The salary, enough to raise a daughter, enough to rest at night. Eleanor extended an official Whitcomb Transit badge, gold shield, catching light. From passenger to protector. He took the badge, metal warm in his palm. The room erupted, seniors stomping walkers against floor, drivers whistling, Nora's choir friends harmonizing wordless celebration. Pastor Lila raised her hands for quiet. Let's remember why we're here, not for victories or vindication, for each other, for the next person who waits in the cold. Heads bowed briefly, acknowledgement passing through the crowd. By noon, maintenance crews were already reinstalling the Maple, third bench, Ora May supervising with military precision. Glenn's office had been cleared, his parking space already reassigned to Employee of the Month Jasmine. Naturally. The afternoon blurred paperwork, photographs, and local news interviews. Darius kept touching the badge in his pocket, confirming its reality. At 5:30 p.m., exhausted but exhilarated, he met Nora at the community center. She wore her best dress, the one usually saved for Easter. Dad, there's something tonight. Can you come? Baby, I'd follow you anywhere. The auditorium was packed. Whitcomb Foundation Scholarship Finals. Nora's name on the program, third performer. You didn't tell me, wanted to earn it myself. No special treatment. 3 judges sat behind a draped table, scoring sheets hidden. Anonymous evaluation. They'd never seen the applicants, only heard recordings, reviewed transcripts. Nora took the stage at 6:15 p.m., no introduction needed. She closed her eyes, found her center, and sang. Not Amazing Grace this time, something modern, complex, requiring range and control. Her voice soared, dipped, painted stories in the air. The auditorium disappeared, just Nora and music and possibility. Darius wept openly. His baby girl, carrying Dorothy's gift forward, making it her own. The judges deliberated 20 minutes. Felt like 20 hours. The Whitcomb Foundation full scholarship covering tuition, room, and board at the conservatory of her choice. The announcer paused. Nora Cole. The room exploded. Darius on his feet, badge falling from his pocket, not caring. Nora flew into his arms, both of them crying, laughing, holding tight. You did it, baby. You did it yourself. We did it, Dad. We got home. Eleanor appeared beside them, leaning on her cane but beaming, judged blind. No names, no connections, just talent. She touched Nora's shoulder. Your mother would be so proud. They stood there, 3 generations, different paths converging. Through the window, a bus passed, kneeling for a passenger, driver waving at someone inside. The city's heartbeat, steady and sure. Spring arrived in Maple Harbor like forgiveness slow. Then, all at once, cherry blossoms exploded along Maple Avenue, petals catching in the morning breeze, settling on sidewalks like promises kept. Darius checked his watch, 8:55 a.m. The installation crew tightened the last bolt on the new shelter's roof, tempered glass panels catching sunlight, turning the structure into something almost holy. The bench, solid oak, weather-sealed, built to last decades, sat anchored deep in fresh concrete. Little to the left, Ora May supervised from her folding chair, scarves draped across her lap. That plaque needs to catch the morning light just right. The work crew adjusted, patient with her precision. They'd learned over the past 3 weeks that Ora May's eye for detail matched any engineer's blueprint. Perfect. She nodded approval, fingers working another scarf. This one's sunrise gold. Jasmine's bus rounded the corner, horn singing 3 short notes their signal. The crowd began gathering. Seniors from the apartments, mothers with strollers, workers on break from the nearby clinic. Pastor Lila led her youth group, each child carrying handmade signs, "Our stop, our story." Eleanor arrived in a simple sedan, no fanfare, driver helping her out. Her cane-carved cherry wood now, not medical aluminum, tapped steady rhythm on the sidewalk. She'd refused the designated VIP chair, choosing instead the bench itself, running her hand along its smooth surface. "Built to last," she murmured. "Everything should be." Darius straightened his new uniform shirt, the Director of Community Care badge still feeling foreign on his chest. 3 weeks into the job, he still sometimes reached for his mop, phantom muscle memory of old routines. Nora emerged from the youth group, her conservatory acceptance letter folded in her pocket like a talisman. 2 months, until she left for Boston. But today wasn't about leaving. Today was about staying, about stops that endure. The crowd swelled nearly 100 now. Marcus Williams, in his Desert Storm cap, the Vietnamese grandmother from the corner market, the night shift nurses who'd testified at the board meeting. The silver-lined circle formed a semicircle, scarves ready. At exactly 9:00 a.m., Darius stepped forward. "We're here to dedicate more than a bus stop." His voice carried without shouting, 3 weeks of public speaking practice paying off. "We're dedicating a promise." He pulled the cloth from the plaque, bronze gleaming. "Whole corner for everyone who waited and was not forgotten, dedicated to the riders of Maple Harbor, your journey." Matters cameras clicked local news, sure, but also phones, grandchildren recording for relatives who couldn't make it. History in real time, democracy measured in bench slats and shelter glass. Ora May rose, scarves bundled in her arms. Every one of these carries a date. A morning someone waited here. A story that mattered. She began draping them across the shelter's railings, blue and gold and silver, creating a textile rainbow. "We're not decorating, we're remembering." Other seniors joined, each scarf placed with ceremony. Some whispered names, friends who'd waited here but hadn't lived to see today. The shelter transformed into something between art installation and shrine. A bus approached, not Jasmine's route, but she'd switched shifts for the ceremony. The driver, a young man named Carlos, fresh from training, lowered the ramp even though no one was boarding, a salute. Other buses followed throughout the hour, each driver honking, waving, some stopping just to shake Darius's hand through their windows. "Mr. Cole?" A reporter pushed forward, microphone extended. "What does this mean for the community?" Darius looked at Eleanor, who nodded encouragement. At Nora, pride shining in her eyes. At Ora May, still arranging scarves with architectural precision. "Means we're seen. Means our neighbors getting to doctors, church, work that matters more than efficiency reports. Means we won." A child's voice from the crowd, probably one of Pastor Lila's group. Laughter rippled through the gathering. Darius smiled. "Yeah, means we won." Nora stepped forward, no introduction needed anymore. Her voice rose, clear and strong, a hymn everyone knew. "We shall overcome," but in major key, celebratory rather than mournful. The crowd joined, harmonies building, even the tone-deaf contributing volume, if not melody. Eleanor stood, cane steady, and made her way to Darius. "Your stop, Mr. Director. Your corner." "Our corner," he gestured at the crowd. "Always was. She pulled something from her bag, the vintage fare puncher, the one she'd gifted him weeks ago. Then make it official. First symbolic fare at Cole Corner. 0. 2. Darius took the puncher, its weight familiar now. He mimed punching an invisible ticket, the metallic click, sharp in spring air. The crowd cheered. "This stop belongs to you," he called out, voice carrying to the back of the crowd. Maybe further, maybe to every corner where someone waited for a bus that connected them to life. Always has, always will. Jasmine's horn sang again, time to resume routes. The crowd began dispersing, but slowly, reluctantly, people touching the bench, photographing the plaque, embracing neighbors. Orame remained, adjusting scarves that didn't need adjusting. "You did good, Darius Cole. We all did." "No." She looked up, eyes sharp behind her glasses. "You stood when standing cost everything. That's how change happens. Someone stands first." A bus knelt at the corner, picking up actual passengers now, the stop fully operational, restored, protected. Spring sunshine painted everything gold. Sunday morning arrived, gentle as grace. 7 o'clock, and Darius cracked eggs into the skillet, humming something between gospel and Motown. 2 months since Cole Corner's dedication, and his body had finally learned new rhythms. 8 hours of sleep, breakfast without rushing, shoulders that didn't ache from mopping or lifting. "Sharp on that F, baby girl." Nora paused her scales, laughing from the kitchen table. "You telling me about pitch now?" "Just saying. Boston Conservatory's going to expect precision," she resumed, running through the warm-up her new voice coach had assigned. 3 weeks until she left for summer session. The scholarship covered everything: tuition, room, even a meal plan that probably didn't include their Sunday eggs and grits, but that was Boston's loss. The kitchen smelled like contentment. Coffee brewing strong, toast browning just right. No vending machine breakfast, no eaten standing up granola bars. Time to taste their food, their life. "You iron your shirt?" Nora asked between scales. "Since when do I need reminding?" "Since never. Just checking you're still you." He plated the eggs, carried them over. His director badge sat on the counter, catching morning light. Tomorrow he'd wear it to the monthly coffee, HEA, concerned session, but Sundays belonged to different uniforms. They ate without hurry. Talked about her roommate assignment, a violinist from Detroit. His upcoming meeting with the State Transit Board, expanding the fare cap program. Normal things that felt miraculous in their normalcy. At 8:30, dishes done together, him washing, her drying, both humming. Now they dressed for church. Darius, in his good Navy suit, the one he'd bought with his first full paycheck. Nora, in her choir robe, burgundy and gold, pressed perfect. "Ready?" she asked. "Always am, when I'm with you." They walked to Maple, 3rd. No rush, no exhaustion dragging at their heels. The shelter stood proud, morning sun catching the bronze plaque. Orame's scarves had become permanent fixtures, weather-resistant versions, the silver-lined circle refreshed monthly. Today's selection, palm green for Palm Sunday, though it was early June. The 9:05 pulled up, right on time. Jasmine at the wheel, beaming. "Morning, Mr. Director, morning, future superstar, morning, Jazz." Darius helped Mr. Williams with his walker, habit more than duty now. The veteran nodded appreciation, taking his favorite seat behind the driver. The bus filled with Sunday familiars. 3 generations of the Nguyen family heading to Vietnamese mass across town. The night shift nurses from Mercy General, still in scrubs, heading home after 12-hour stands. Pastor Lila boarded at Elm Street, her Bible tucked under one arm, church announcements under the other. "This bus is more sanctuary than pew some Sundays," she announced to general laughter. "Brother Chen, how's that hip? Sister Margaret, your grandbaby walking yet?" Rolling confession, rolling fellowship. The bus became church before church, community in motion. Someone started humming, one of the nurses and others joined. Not performance, just shared sound, harmony found in the rumble of movement. Darius watched Nora lean against the window, studying the passing streets she'd soon leave behind. Not forever, she'd promised that, and he believed her, but for long enough that these corners would reshape in her absence. "You'll miss it," he said quietly. "Every single day." "Good. Means you'll come back." "Dad." She turned, eyes serious. "I was always coming back. This is home. These people, these stops. Boston's just learning how to sing it better." The Vietnamese grandmother offered them both butter cookies from a tin, homemade that morning. Pastor Lila was deep in conversation with two teenagers about youth group's summer schedule. Jasmine called out stops like blessings: Park Avenue, watch your step, municipal building, government workers, and other miracle seekers. Ordinary magic, Darius thought. The kind you only recognize after you've almost lost it. His phone buzzed. Eleanor, texting from her own church across town. "Board approved 3 new routes for underserved neighborhoods. Your survey data made the difference. Coffee Tuesday?" He showed Nora, who smiled. "She's good for you. We're good for the community. That's what matters." "Sure, Dad. That's all that matters." The teasing felt like wealth, time, and energy for gentle jokes, for implications about coffee being more than coffee. Though honestly, it wasn't. He and Eleanor had found something rarer than romance: partnership in purpose. Maybe that would change, maybe not. For now, it was enough. Main Street unfolded before them, Sunday quiet but alive. The Puerto Rican bakery opening early, church crowd their best customers. The barber shop where Darius now got regular cuts, no longer stretching months between. The corner where Cole Corner scarves had inspired 3 other stops to start their own decoration traditions. The bus glided smooth, new shocks installed last month, part of the REST HASA recovery program that ensured equipment stayed as maintained as the people operating it. "Good morning, Maple Harbor," Jasmine called out, pure joy in her voice. "Beautiful day to get where we're going." Darius felt the words rise in his chest, natural as breathing. Nora's hand found his, squeezing gentle encouragement. Around them, their neighbors settled into seats, into Sunday, into the promise that their journeys mattered. "Let's get everyone home," he called back. The bus carried them forward into morning light, into futures they'd fought for and won, into the simple, profound grace of arrival. Through clean windows, Maple Harbor gleamed. If you enjoyed the story, I handpicked this next story that you will enjoy. Please don't miss this one. Click here to watch it.